Today we will be continuing with the chapter Hazard and Disaster. Under Hazard and Disaster, today you will be studying about cyclone, flood and drought. Learning objective for today's lesson is to analyze the factors that affect the severity of cyclone, flood and drought, and at the end of the chapter you will be able to distinguish the different types of disaster and you will be able to analyze the impact of these disasters on the ecosystem and people. So let us begin. The first thing, students, which we will be learning about is a cyclone. Now, what is a cyclone? Cyclone is an atmospheric condition characterized by rapid inward circulation of air masses about a low pressure center, usually accompanied by fierce storm and torrential rain. Often they are destructive in nature. Now, cyclones have a low pressure. Now, we all know that winds travel from high pressure to low pressure. Therefore, the center of the cyclone creates a high pressure and low pressure, and the surrounding winds which are outside, that is high pressure, they move towards the center of the cyclone, towards the level of low pressure. Now, students, cyclones basically blow anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere, and they have various names. For example, in the Pacific Ocean it is called typhoon, in the Atlantic Ocean it is called as a hurricane, and cyclone, the term cyclone is used in the Southern Ocean and in the Indian Ocean, whereas in Australia these types of cyclones are called willy willy. Now students, what is a tropical cyclone? Now this tropical cyclone, as I mentioned, it moves in a spiral pattern and has certain characteristics. The major characteristic of the cyclone is it has extremely strong winds with very heavy rain and storm surges. Now tropical cyclones are a type of storm that forms over ocean in tropical region. The heat and moisture from the warm sea or ocean are the source of energy for cyclones. Cyclones are generally formed due to condensation of high moist air which condenses at higher altitude. Now students, here we can see the structure of a cyclone. I shall be explaining to you how the structure is moving. So if you can see that the eye is a region with a diameter found at the center, and here the sky is often very clear. The winds are light and the storm's lowest pressure reading is obtained from this eye. The next is the eye wall. Now what is the eye wall? It is the ring of cumulonimbus clouds. Students, cumulonimbus clouds are rain-bearing clouds that swirl around the eye. The heaviest precipitation and strongest winds are found here. And finally, we have the spiral rain bands. These are bands of heavy convection shower. Shower over here is your rainfall that spiral inward towards the storm's center. Now, thunderstorms are also observed in these areas. So we can see how the eye, which is a calm position and usually the center of low pressure, and surrounding is my circulation pattern which is taking place. Next, there is a video which I will be explaining to you, which will give us a clear understanding of the formation of the cyclone. Students, we will start studying about the formation of the cyclone. There are three basic stages of a tropical cyclone: its origin or source, the mature stage, and the dissipation stage, where it dies out. These occur in continuous process, not separate or distinguished stages. Each stage may occur more than once during the life cycle of a cyclone, depends on the strength of the cyclone. It may reach land, weaken, go back out on the sea, and become strong again. The formation of the cyclone depends upon the following conditions. First, a large, still warm ocean area with a surface temperature that exceeds 26.5 degrees Celsius over an extended period. This allows a air develop over the ocean surface. Low altitude winds are also needed to form a tropical cyclone. As air warms over the ocean, it expands and becomes lighter and rises. Other local winds blow towards this to replace it, and this area becomes warm. The rising air contains huge amount of moisture evaporated from the ocean surface. As it rises, it cools, condensing to form huge clouds about 10 kilometers above the troposphere. More warm air rushes in and rises, drawn by the draft above. The rising air draft carries moisture high into the atmosphere so that the clouds become thick and heavy. Condensation then releases the latent heat of energy stored in the water vapor, providing the cyclone with more power. This creates a self-sustaining heat cycle. Drawn further upwards by the new release of energy, the cloud grows about 12 to 15 kilometers high. The force created by the Earth's rotation on the tilted axis, that is the Coriolis effect, causes rise in the air. It is at this stage that the cyclone matures and the eye of the storm is created. As the air rises and cools, some of this air descends to form the cyclone's eye as the cyclone rages around this eye. The eye wall, where the wind is strongest, behaves like a whirling cylinder. Cyclones rotate clockwise in the southern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere. The lowest air pressure in a tropical cyclone is always found at the center and is typically 950 millibars or less. The average air surface is 1010 millibars. Tropical cyclones have significant lower air pressure than the air surrounding them. The bigger the pressure difference, the stronger the wind force. One of the lowest air pressure ever recorded was 877 millibars in Typhoon Ida, which hit the Philippines in 1958. Once formed, the cyclone movement or tracks follows a pathway away from the force driven by global wind circulation. As warm ocean water feeds the cyclone, it becomes larger. So students, what is a flood? A flood is a flow of water that submerges land, which is usually dry. Flood is a state of high water level that leads to inundation of land, which is not usually submerged. Floods may happen due to breach in the embankment of a river, spillover, or due to heavy rain. Now let us see some of the causes of flood. There are several causes of flood which differ from place to place. Some of the major causes of flood are heavy rainfall, heavy siltation, which reduces the water carrying capacity of the river streams, strong winds along with storm surge, construction of dams and reservoir on the course of a river, and landslides blocking the flow of the stream. Now, flood causes a lot of devastating effect. Flood causes loss of life and property. Houses, bridges, roads, etc. They get damaged. The agricultural land also causes huge loss of crops because of flooding. A flash flood is a rapid flooding of geographic low-lying areas and it washes the river streams. So we can see that tides, high tides especially, also indicate flooding in coastal region. In such areas, we need to evacuate the people as fast as possible to curb these effects. Now students, over here you can see the map of India and the flood zones, the areas where maximum flood takes place. We can see it's usually the riverine area, especially river Ganga, Brahmaputra, river Narmada, Tapi, and river Krishna, Godavari, the coastal regions. Now students, when you look at this picture, what is it that you observe? You observe dry lands. What does dry land indicate? It is indicating a drought. Now what is a drought? A drought is a situation which occurs by acute deficiency of rainfall. It is just the opposite of flood than its normal pattern for an extended period of time, leading to general suffering of the people. Drought can have serious health, social, and economic impacts with far reaching consequences. Now let us see certain causes of droughts. Droughts are caused because of deficiency of rain, deforestation, soil erosion, and global warming. Drought is defined, like I said, as a deficit of rainfall. So if high pressure and dry air prevails in an area for a very long period of time, the moisture generated is very less, which is a burden to produce precipitation. Hence, what is happening? The area receives very little rainfall, leading to drought. Sometimes warm, dry continental air moves over an area in contrary to cooler air. This also causes certain effects, and the ocean's water temperature has very less impact on the rainfall, which causes drought as well. What is deforestation, students? It is when the agricultural land is removed. So deforestation for agriculture results in erosion, which causes drought as soil is moved away from an area. Now, drought is a slow onset hazard, and it is difficult to predict or declare the time of its initiation. We normally come across three major types of droughts. Let us see. The first type of drought is a meteorological drought. Here it is the deficit of rainfall. When there is no rainfall, we call it a meteorological drought. The second type of drought is a hydrological drought. This is the drying out of natural stream and lowering of groundwater level. And finally, we have the agricultural drought. What is this? It is when the moisture level in the soil becomes insufficient. It is called agricultural drought. You have to answer the following questions and mail it to me in the given email ID. You have to answer: what are the causes of drought? How is a cyclone formed? Elucidate the causes of flood. Elucidate means explain the causes of flood. What are the different names of cyclone and which places are they associated with? You need to mail them to me at rima.sma@outlook.com. So, but students, if you have any questions or challenges, please feel free to mail me at the given email ID. Thank you, students.